What's up, guys? Brady Fugel here, coming at you with a review for the new Signs of the Swarm album, To Rid Myself of Truth, released last Friday, August 22nd. This is the first album for me from this band that I'm getting into, and much like Psycho Frame, who I talked about recently, people seem to be really getting behind this album in the deathcore scene. So I was interested to try it out. I mean, 2025 has been an awesome year for deathcore so far. I mean, you had Whitechapel making their big comeback to the genre earlier in the year. You had the Shadow of Intent album that dropped a little over a month ago now that I reviewed very positively. Psycho Frame I wasn't as enthusiastic about as everyone else seems to be, but I definitely still enjoyed the album for the most part. But this record right here is my favorite deathcore album of the year so far. I'm so impressed by everything on this album, but in particular the songwriting. The band makes heavy use of unconventional song structures and at times some odd time signatures, and just overall these songs are very, very unpredictable. The guitars, for one, on this album literally strike the perfect three-way intersection between being technical and nuanced, being just straight up groovy and infectious and catchy, and being fucking brutal at times. It's very rare that a deathcore band will strike this perfect balance like this album has, which is the best way for me to get into the album. There are too many deathcore albums nowadays, to me, that just focus solely on being brutal and don't really have much nuance or hooks to them. For one, the single Hell Must Fear Me just has this blisteringly heavy intro that leads into this awesome, just stomping groove metal riff. Then the track Scars on Scars is probably the best instance of all of these elements combining. I mean, that main riff, it's fucking groovy as hell, it's got the off-time qualities, and it's got the technicality all wrapped up into one, yet it's still fucking heavy. Fear and Judgment also has a really catchy, groovy main riff that is the driving force of that song, quite frankly. So right off the bat, the album was set up for success for me just because of the guitar style, the adventurous song structures that at times, most of the time, were just really, really unpredictable and kept me second-guessing the entire time. Yet despite that, the album still retains in my head, and it still comes off as inviting, and because of oftentimes these groovy riffs, but also other elements, it never gets to the point where the songs themselves, because of their adventurous, unpredictable structures, tripping over my words here, it never gets to the point where it becomes like a track that just whizzes by you. That's oftentimes what I feel like happens when bands don't really have enough structure. The songs end up sounding meandering and like they're all over the place, and there aren't really any individual parts that make you want to come back. These songs, that's not the case. This is an album where oftentimes just the outside-the-box thinking becomes the most memorable parts of these tracks. Like, for one, on the track Chariot, it has this really brief, like I'm talking 10, maybe 12-second tempo change, where the song slows down to the slower, sludgier tempo, and then only after, again, like 10, 12 seconds, picks right back up to where it just was. I thought that was such a creative musical choice, because usually tempo changes are used to emphasize entire sections, whereas on this song, the band just kind of throws it in and almost teases you with it before it gets launched back into that main groove yet again. And in the same song, on Chariot, near the end, the song transitions into more of a triplet feel that, again, is such a short, brief glimpse of the song at large, but it adds so much, especially being so close to the end. It allows the track to just really have that extra progression, and it still feels like it's moving and evolving the entire time, even at the end of the song. There's also one of my favorite songs on here, Forcing to Forget, which is the perfect example yet again of clean vocals being used in a deathcore song to where it actually advances the song instead of making it sound like a cheap, like, metalcore attempt thrown in there. For one, the way the vocals are performed and delivered, being so spacious and wide and atmospheric, it almost makes it sound like the vocals are acting as another instrument, as opposed to being front, center, polished, the centerpiece of that part of the song. The vocals and the melodies on display here just play off of that really ominous intro riff and also the parts underneath it really well the entire time, and I especially love how even when the song gets heavy and the screams take prominence, the cleans still kind of are there, adding that extra, that backdrop and that texture. And another thing I love about this song is that it just sets fire to any criticism I could possibly have about this album being emotionally one-dimensional, which is a running criticism I have for a lot of deathcore records. Even in this song alone, it feels like a journey from the darkness of the first half into that bright, triumphant second half that really starts in that bridge when those really bright, shimmering melodies kick in. And then that same atmosphere and energy kind of spills over into the next chorus, which just makes it hit so much harder. Another song that does that well is the track Sarkazine, which I think is how you pronounce it. I don't fucking know. But the way the vocals kind of pull the verses along in true deathcore fashion, but then you get that like electronic ambient break in the middle that again brings in some more kind of melodic, emotional, kind of almost lighthearted type melodies in there. That was a really cool shift to the song, and again, it kind of adds some more emotion into this album as a whole, and as a result, is another track that really stands out. And a really odd detail that I liked about the song is the actual ending, like the last 2 seconds of the song, how it kind of sounds like it all comes together and just like warps out. I thought that was a cool way to end the track. And I know I'm giving a lot of examples of tracks that kind of switch things up. Natural Selection being another one that's almost like dubstep gent intro part. I thought that was pretty creative and outside the box as well. That song in particular is just so dynamic the whole time. It's got these tribal tom sections kind of spliced in. It's got these stop-start verses that really keep you like stomping along with the song. A lot of the guitar melodies are just super chaotic sounding and bring in just this element of pure discord and chaos. There's this exotic lead guitar line that kind of darts through the chorus, and at the 2:44 mark, you probably have the sickest vocal moment on the entire record when the highs and the lows just combine, and it sounds like this swirling vortex. But anyways, despite all of these outside-the-box ideas on here, this record is still a full-on deathcore slaughter the entire time, and this album is equally as good when it goes for just that straightforward sound. Like, I've been already very complimentary about the track Chariot, which has all of the staples. It's got the kind of dark ambiance to it. It's got that stomping main riff that is, again, pretty genty. Riff-wise, it's a very percussive song, and again, you have the impeccable and creative use of the tempo change, which I thought was awesome. I'll also single out the towering track Clouded Retinas, as well as the mechanical-sounding closer on here, Creator, as songs that just go for that straightforward deathcore sound and execute it really well with still at times some creative and fresh ideas. There's also Iron Sacrament, which has just this ugly intro with some harmonics thrown in there, and the song overall ends up having just more of like a straight-up death metal influence with a lot of kind of tremolo stuff and blast beats, and it's got this stomping mid-tempo chorus. There's also the opening title track, which I haven't talked about yet. It knocks you off of your feet and jolts you and brings in the chaos right away, just with the way the song builds tension. I mean, you think it's going to kick in to that main riff right away, but then the first full band kick-in part you get is closed hi-hats. I think all three of the guest features on this album were used immaculately. Clouded Retinas with Will Ramos sees both vocalists kind of functioning in the same role, but Will, his vocals, still managed to stand out in the back half of that song. And then in terms of deathcore itself being the merge point between death metal and metalcore and hardcore, I can't think of two better songs than Iron Sacrament with Phil Bozeman of Whitechapel and Fear and Judgment with the vocalist from Prison and 156 Silence as the perfect duality between that push and pull between both of those sides. Like I've already said, Iron Sacrament takes a lot from more straight-up death metal, and Phil Bozeman on that song really contributes to that well. And then Fear and Judgment, obviously both of these vocalists being from more hardcore and metalcore style bands, they give that song an appropriate kind of straight-up hardcore flair, which fits the political themes of the song as well. I also especially love on that track that piercing ride cymbal bell that drives a lot of those sections. In general, I have very, very little negative to say about this album. It's a fucking great record. Again, probably my favorite deathcore album of the year so far, I should say. There were some small things, like on Fear and Judgment, I do think the whole spoken word and political transmission thing was maybe pushed a little bit too to the front. And there were a handful of moments, like on the title track, where I do think the band was trying a little bit too hard to just sound like they are going for the heaviest breakdown possible. But in general, with maybe a few winces, I could get through this album without skipping. Unfortunately, that means I can't give it a perfect score, but It's a fucking awesome record. I should also say I love the production on here. It's so explosive. Like, when the band fully kicks into a heavy section, it hits fucking hard. It feels like it's just punching you right in the face. And something that stuck out to me production-wise was a few moments on here where, as far as the mix on the guitar, certain moments feel like they were just pushed a little bit higher in the mix for extra emphasis. Like the tremolo guitar part that comes in at the 108 mark on Scars, and also in the Closer Creator, in that epic solo when the harmonies get thrown on top. Both of those moments feel like they just leapt out at me a little bit more, and I think it's because they were elevated a little bit higher in the mix. And again, very creative choice there. So yeah, I fucking love this album. I'm so happy I gave these guys a shot. I definitely am going to be diving into their back catalog head first now. This album gets a 28 out of 30 for me. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. If you've heard this album, if you've listened to it, please comment below your thoughts on it. Remember to hit the subscribe button for more rock and metal-related content and album reviews, as well as check the description of the video for my links, as well as one to my original music. And until next time, thank you guys so much again for watching, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace.